To eulogize means to speak well of. And I wonder what Charlie Kirk would say about Charlie Kirk. Because his death stood in stark contrast to the way he lived and the things he believed and the things he espoused.
Charlie Kirk's death sent shockwaves through the political world, but the biggest controversy wasn't about the shooting itself. It was about D.L. Hughley's brutal response, a response that sparked a wave of backlash and turned his name into a headline overnight. So, during a sit-down with Don Lemon, Hughley didn't hold back. He flat out called Kirk a horrible human being and said the most infuriating part wasn't just how Kirk lived, but how he died. According to DL, Kirk's final words weren't about peace or reflection. They were about blaming gun violence on gangs, pretty much a coded swipe at black communities.
But Charlie Kirk was a horrible human being. He said horribly incendiary things. As a matter of fact, he died. The very last words he spoke were basically putting the onus of gun violence on gangs, which is a synonym for synonymous with black.
And Hughley spelled it out. He died lying about black people with his last breath. That was the line that set this entire storm in motion.
He blamed the very way he died was lying about black people with his last breath. And I just think the best thing I can say is that I hope he believed what he was saying. I hope he believed that lives being lost were worth it so the Second Amendment could persevere. I hope he believed.
Now, DL has never been shy about calling out the right, but this time it felt different. He wasn't just critiquing policy. He was looking at a man who had just been killed and refusing to show sympathy.
It was parsing between sympathy. Sympathy means we have a similarity. Empathy means I have nothing to do with you, but I can still feel your pain as a human being. And I hope he believed all the rhetoric he espoused.
And in today's polarized climate, that hit like a grenade, because before DL even finished his interview, the clip started spreading. The part where he said, Charlie Kirk was a horrible human being, replayed across timelines. And it wasn't long before conservative voices, and even some liberals, began dragging him.
That's a justification for killing Charlie Kirk. And this is what's prevalent among the left.
One user on YouTube wrote, DL hates white people. Another added, DL has been a sick man for a long time, so I'm not surprised. So what started as a podcast moment quickly snowballed into a full-blown culture war headline. And that framing, mocking Kirk's legacy right after his death, became the spark for the backlash. Critics weren't just angry at Hughley's words. They said it revealed a lack of basic humanity. Comments poured in. It's truly incredible how easily the left can rationalize violence. Others accused him of hypocrisy, pointing out how he's spoken before about protecting black lives from violence, yet here he seemed to shrug off political violence because of who the victim was. Mr. Hughley is a perfect example of a racist, but supporters fire back, reminding everyone of Kirk's own record of inflammatory comments. They pointed to years of rhetoric where Kirk attacked movements like Black Lives Matter and dismissed systemic racism. For them, DL's words weren't a celebration, they were a mirror, a brutal reflection of the same dismissiveness Kirk often showed toward others. Now everyone's asking, did DL Hughley go too far, or was he just saying what many were already thinking?
He died forwarding the notion that it's black people who are responsible for that. His last words were gang violence. But he wasn't shot. He wasn't shot. We know it was because we know who it wasn't. First off, Charlie Kirk was not assassinated. He was shot. The congressmen in Minnesota, they were assassinated because they were shot for their political views. Charlie Kirk was shot.
The line between commentary and cruelty has never looked thinner. And this story, it's far from over.
Canelo Alvarez just crashed out, and it all came right after Floyd Mayweather mocked him for losing to Terrence Crawford. The rivalry between these two has always been heated, but this latest twist hit different. Right after Canelo's shocking defeat, Mayweather popped up to clown him. The fight itself was supposed to be Canelo's night. He came in favored, expected to dominate, but instead, Crawford outclassed him in every way. Sharp counters, slick defense, flawless execution. Even with a controversial headbutt moment, Crawford controlled the entire match. Canelo admitted it himself. He couldn't figure Crawford out. And then came the line that had the whole boxing world buzzing. Canelo said, I think Crawford is way better than Floyd Mayweather.
No, I think Crawford is way better than than Floyd Mayweather.
Coming from someone who's fought both men, that wasn't just praise. It was a statement that shook the sport because it put Mayweather's legacy side by side with a fighter many now call the best of this generation. Floyd, of course, didn't let it slide. He mocked Canelo, reminded everyone how he beat him back in 2013, and flexed about the big bet he placed on Crawford winning. Not only did he embarrass Canelo years ago, but he also cashed out on his loss in the present. That's why fans are saying this wasn't just a defeat. It was a full crash-out moment for Canelo. To make it worse, Mayweather's camp fired back too. His uncle doubled down, saying Canelo was just being disrespectful by calling Crawford better, and that Floyd fought Canelo when he was at his absolute best. He made it clear, defensively, strategically, and historically, Floyd still sees himself as untouchable. Meanwhile, reactions poured in across the boxing world. Some fighters criticized Canelo, saying he didn't show up with the energy or focus needed for a fight of that magnitude. Others couldn't stop praising Crawford, calling it one of the cleanest performances they'd ever seen. Either way, Mayweather's voice cut through the loudest, turning all eyes back to himself while Canelo was still processing his loss. For Canelo, this moment has been brutal. He's hinted at taking time away to be with his family and think about what comes next. Retirement isn't off the table, but it doesn't feel final yet. A rematch with Crawford is possible, though uncertain. Crawford himself has teased moving weight classes or even stepping away from the sport, which only complicates Canelo's path forward. The bigger picture is that this defeat reignited the rivalry between Canelo and Mayweather without either of them ever touching gloves again. Every time Canelo stumbles, Floyd swoops in to remind him who had his number first. And now, with Canelo putting Crawford above Mayweather, the legacy debate just exploded. Was it pure respect for Crawford? Was it shade at Floyd? Or maybe both? What's clear is that this loss hit harder than most, not just because Canelo fell short in the ring, but because of what came after. Mayweather's mockery, the public comparison to Crawford, and the questions about Canelo's future have all stacked up into one harsh reality. This was more than just another L. This was a crash-out moment, and the timing made it sting twice as much. Canelo's still respected for how he's handled the spotlight, both in victory and defeat, but his next move will decide everything. Whether it's redemption in a rematch or stepping back to close the book on a legendary career, he's standing at a crossroads.